From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Good evening. Tonight, Gwoza residents ask federal government to end insurgency as new chief of army staff visits frontline officers in Borno and Yobe states. Repentant bandits terrorizing parts of northern states surrender arms to Zamfara state government. Governor El-Rufai kicks against dialogue with armed persons. Federal High Court temporarily halts retrial of former Abia State Governor Orji Kalu for alleged 7.1 billion naira fraud. And Myanmar's military junta defends coup plot despite nationwide protests, warns no one is above the law. Plus, you see business, sports and later, international news from our London studios.
On business news tonight, International Monetary Fund IMF says Nigeria's economy is currently at a critical stage, calls for increase in value-added tax.
And on sports news tonight, the 20th National Sports Festival, tagged Edo 2020, has been postponed for the fourth time by the federal government to April 2021.
And from Abuja, federal government grants license to 203 private firms to operate national identity number enrollment centers.
There is a renewed call for an end to the ongoing insurgency in the northeast. This time, some persons affected by the violence in Gwoza local government area of Borno State are making their voices heard and are asking the federal government to step up its game. The senator representing the area, Aline Dume, conveyed the concerns of the people when the state government distributed relief items to them. He says relying on charity is no longer sustainable for the people.
Gwoza is one of the Borno towns once devastated and captured by Boko Haram militants. Today, residents displaced by the crisis have returned home following the liberation of the town. But many still live in makeshift camps with no source of livelihood years after they return. The physically challenged, the able-bodied, all rendered handicapped as danger lurks behind the mountains. Many of the women sitting out here are widows from insurgency, now heading their families and raising children without fathers. Governor Babagana Zulum and other prominent citizens have been visiting Gwoza local government for humanitarian and developmental activities.
We distributed food items to about 11,000 heads of households. Each household receive 25 kg maize, grit, 12.5 kg of rice, and then 12.5 kg of beans. And inshallah, tomorrow we shall see how we can support the women group.
The senator representing the area at the National Assembly believes once there is peace, most of the problems confronting the people will be overcome.
If Gwoza alone can take in 25 trucks that will feed people, I don't think those rations will feed a family up to 1 month. The solution is to address and tackle the security matter so that our people can go back to their subsistence living.
27,000 vulnerable residents of Gwoza local government are receiving the food items being distributed. The residents are grateful for the intervention.
I'm very appreciative. I thank Governor Zulum for his foresight and justice, and we support his leadership style. We, the people of Gwoza, welcome his programs that have the masses at heart. What we want the government to do for us going forward is to see that these terrorists are cleared. They should assist us with jobs.
150 million has been shared by the state government as soft loans and grants to small and medium-scale traders in Polka, Izge and Limankara towns, all in Gwoza local government. According to the governor, the next phase of the entrepreneurial support will focus on women alone because of their enormous responsibilities.
The newly appointed Chief of Army Staff, Major General Ibrahim Atahiru, who has been outlining his strategies in the ongoing fight against insurgency in the part of the country. Well, he did indeed visit the Army Super Camp at Ngamdu near the Yobe-Borno border, where he assured the frontline troops of maximum support and improved welfare. Part of his plan is to step up collaboration with the Cameroonian and Chadian forces to finally eliminate the terrorists. He applauded the troops for their determination under the new Operation Tura Takai Bango and pledged to build on the successes recorded. He had earlier visited troops in Maiduguri to familiarize himself with the ongoing military operation in the area.
I've met commanders, I've received briefs, and they've told me exactly what their critical requirements are. The emphasis is on military effectiveness. And we want to bring this war to an end soonest. So we're bringing out things. You can see Operation Turata Gemogo, successes being recorded. We want to cash in on that and ensure the total annihilation of Boko Haram from Nigeria. This we're working in tandem with forces from Republic of Cameroon, which we are aware. Soon I will also bring in the Chadians so that we can do a total annihilation of Boko Haram from Nigeria. That's what I can tell Nigerians. It's not just the Northeast theater. We equally ensuring our operations in the other parts of Nigeria. We ensure people do their work properly so that insecurity will be a thing of the past.
In the meantime, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Oladayo Amao, has also been rallying officers and men of the Air Force. During a visit to the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole, Air Vice Marshal Amao said there is need for the Air Force to sustain the onslaught against Boko Haram terrorists and the Islamic State of West Africa elements in the northeast of the country. He advocated that new ways of doing things needed to be evolved in order to achieve better, long-lasting results, and emphasized that in sustaining platform serviceability, the service would continue to leverage on the acquisition of new platforms whilst ensuring effective maintenance of existing ones. The Chief of Air Staff said in addition to the 23 brand new aircraft acquired by the federal government, Tithe Air Force is expecting 15 additional new manned aircraft, 12 Super Tucano attack aircraft and 3 Thunder multi-role fighter jets, as well as 8 new unmanned combat aerial vehicles. And now over to Zamfara State, where 6 notorious bandits today laid down their arms and ammunition to embrace the peace initiative of the state government. These 6 repentant bandits laid down their arms after taking an oath with the Holy Quran before Governor Bello Matawale and other stakeholders at Government House Gusau. They promised not to go back to banditry anymore, while the state governor believes this will encourage others to follow their step.
With the cooperation of our security agencies, state government and the ulamas, we are making effort day and night to make sure that the citizens of the state can sleep with both their eyes closed. That's why we are using 2 approaches to this menace. That is kinetic and non-kinetic approach, which to us here in the state is yielding a positive result, because With what we are seeing here, it was not by force. Nobody forced him to come and bring it. It was not by engagement, but for the sake of dialogue and reconciliation.
Staying with repentant bandits, the governor of Kaduna State has described efforts being made by a prominent northern-based Islamic cleric, Sheikh Gumi, to woo bandits to lay down their arms and embrace peace as an exercise in futility. Governor Nasir El-Rufai says that the bandits are used to getting big money as ransom and will therefore find it difficult to repent after all. Mr. El-Rufai insists that his administration is at war with the bandits and will never negotiate with them, adding that any of the criminals arrested in Kaduna State will face the law. Governor El-Rufai's statement reads in part, "I never believed that a Fulani herdsman who ventured into banditry and is collecting millions of naira as ransom will repent. Anybody who thinks a Fulani herdsman that was used to only getting 100,000 naira in a year after selling a cow but now is getting millions through kidnapping for ransom will stop is only wasting his time." The governor also lamented over the division amongst governors in the Northwest region on the synergy to confront the criminal elements in the north. For more on banditry and the insecurity around some parts of the northern parts, we have joining us right now, of course, a security expert, intelligence policy expert, Mr. Kabiru Adamo. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you, Millicent. Good evening.
Just before I get your thoughts on the visit of the Chief of Army Staff to Borno State and some other parts, tell us about what you think when you hear some governors who are supporting the peace initiative, laying down of arms, the repentant bandits, and those who are saying it's an exercise in futility.
I think it's quite unfortunate that we are hearing this kind of discordant tunes, given that this issue is the same. We're dealing with banditry, and this banditry affects the same region. In fact, the forest where these bandits operate cuts across the state. So where the governors are, using different frameworks to contain the banditry, then it's not likely to be successful. And I think it's absolutely necessary at this stage in our development for a framework, a single framework for tackling non-state actors to be developed. And the reason why I say this is there are several non-state actors. It's not just the bandits, depending on where you go to. And so if ever governor or ever component of the authorities is allowed to engage with these non-state actors as it deems fit, then unfortunately we may end up incentivizing weaponization of conflict, wherever non-state actor picks a weapon and then knows that once he or she does that, they will get government attention, and that's not what we want as a country. So to that extent, I agree with Governor El-Rufai's philosophy beyond what the Zamfara state government is doing, even though at a certain point in time, it's absolutely necessary to discuss with some of these non-state actors, but then not in a manner that we incentivize the weaponization of conflict.
Looking at the Army Chief's visit to frontline troops today, he's spoken of collaboration with other forces from Cameroon and Chad. Aren't these some of the measures used in time past to fight insurgency?
And that is what worries me. His visit is good in terms of the morale boosting component of the visit, but then every other thing he's mentioned are things that, frankly, the immediate past and several other persons that held the same office he held did. So we are hoping that in the next few days, months, we will hear something slightly different than some of these things. One key area is the area of countering violent extremism, where that would now reduce the influence.
Now, Mr. Damo, apart from what we've heard from him...
If we're able to use...
Okay, losing you for a bit. But then, apart from what we've heard from the Army Chief, what do you think are some of the immediate actions that should be taken to make a difference?
Okay, I was talking about the countering violent extremism mechanism. It has about three, four components. One of them, economic regeneration of the affected region. If we're able to address the root causes of terrorism, then we'll reduce the ability of the terrorists to get funding, to recruit new members, as well as to radicalize the affected society. And the only way to do that is through countering violent extremism. Now, that framework is in the Office of the National Security Advisor. And I think this is the time that the military needs to look closely at that document and ensure its full implementation. Using kinetic force, even if it's with the cooperation of our neighboring countries, will not bring this to an end. When the Global Terrorism Index released its report, it identified one key area of success, that is influence. So implement the CVE component, and you automatically reduce the ability of these groups to recruit as well as to generate funding.
We appreciate your time, Security and Intelligence Policy Expert, Mr. Kabir Adamu. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you for having me.
In part two, after the break, Federal High Court temporarily halts retrial of former Abia State Governor Orji Kalu for alleged 7.1 billion naira fraud. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Goza residents ask federal governments to end insurgency as new Chief of Army Staff visits frontline officers in Borno and Yobe states. Repentant bandits terrorizing parts of northern states surrender arms to Zamfara state government. Governor El-Rufai kicks against dialogue with armed persons. Federal High Court temporarily halts retrial of former Abia State Governor Orji Kalu for alleged 7.1 billion naira fraud. And Myanmar's military junta defends coup plots despite nationwide protests, warns no one is above the law. We continue to legal matters where a federal high court in Abuja has ordered that the rearrangement of former Abia State Governor Senator Orji Kalu in an alleged 7.1 billion naira money laundering charge be put on hold pending the resolution of the legality of the retrial charges brought against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Justice Inyang Ekwo, in a ruling on an ex-parte application, also granted leave to the senator representing Abia North to challenge the legality of the retrial in the same charges. The judge admitted that Senator Kalu, who is the Senate Chief Whip, had placed sufficient materials of value before the court to enable him secure permission for judicial review of his retrial in charges in which he had been tried, convicted, and spent some months at Kuje Prison in Abuja. Justice Ekwo, who announced that the order of the court shall operate as a stay of proceedings, also granted Senator Kalu permission to apply for an order of perpetual injunction against the federal government through the EFCC to prohibit his retrial so as not to be made to suffer double jeopardy. The court consequently fixed February 23, 2021 for mention. Staying with legal matters, the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has fixed April the 13th for the hearing of an application seeking the final forfeiture of the sum of $5.8 million and another 2.4 billion naira said to have been illegally acquired by former First Lady Dame Patience Jonathan. Justice Chika Obiozor fixed the date after lawyers involved in the matter appeared before him today. The EFCC had filed the suit in 2017 seeking the forfeiture of the sums to the federal government. The case was assigned to Justice Mojisola Olateregun, who retired from the bench in 2019. Before her retirement, the judge had ordered the temporary forfeiture of the funds, a decision that was affirmed by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. After listening to all the submissions, Justice Obiozor said he could not upturn the ex parte order made by Justice Olateregun, but would proceed with the hearing of the application for final forfeiture. Meanwhile, the Lagos State government has auctioned 83 forfeited vehicles for violating the state's Transport Sector Reform Law 2018. The Director of Public Affairs in the Ministry of Justice, Kayode Oyekomi, says the move is sequel to the orders of the Special Offences Mobile Court set up by the state government. He adds that driving against traffic on one way has caused a huge number of accidents and untold losses to property and human lives. We have more stories with Linda Akibe from our Abuja studios. Hello, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. Welcome to Abuja. 203 local firms now have license as enrollment and registration centers for the national identity number in a move by government to address the frustration faced by enrollees. The Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Dr. Ali Pantami, explains that the licenses were granted by the federal government as part of the efforts towards improving the process. He was speaking to journalists after a tour of selected centers in Abuja.
It's another day and the struggle continues for those seeking to get through the national identity number registration process. At the Wuse Zone 3 registration centre, the hurdles are constant. No room to observe the COVID-19 protocols, and the scorching sun appears to have compounded the growing frustration.
This is getting to 4 days now. They will say, come. When we come in the morning, they will write names. And nothing will happen.
We can't be crowding here like this just because we want to be identified in our own country. So if there's anything they need to do, they should do a proper planning.
Some applicants take shelter under available shades. Others attempt to quench their thirst, and those who can't struggle anymore take some rest.
Okay, first you have to come and write your name. After writing your name, before you now join the queue, if they call your name, before you collect this number, and it's not easy. You have to fight, struggle. Like me now, I even went out to buy something to drink.
In the meantime, the federal government has issued license to some local firm to coordinate the exercise.
We have granted a license to 203 indigenous companies to serve as operators. However, there is room for improvement. We always try to set standard, ridicule our previous success, make sure our today is better than yesterday and tomorrow is better than today. And we will continue to build and improve on the experience we are gathering.
The minister is also asking the firms to comply with the COVID-19 protocols while carrying out the exercise.
$1.96 billion, 284-kilometer Kano-Maradi rail line, which flag-off is planned for tomorrow, is expected to link 3 northern states, which are Kano, Jigawa and Katsina, extending to Maradi in the Republic of Niger. The rail link will serve about 8.8 million people, besides developing freight and passenger transport. Our next report takes a look at the rail project ahead of the groundbreaking.
New coaches that greet passengers traveling from Lagos to Ibadan definitely project the image of a revitalized railway network. The investment by the federal government to revive the country's moribund infrastructure is to boost the economy. Before now, the government awarded China's Civil Engineering Construction Corporation some rail building contracts, which include a $1.2 billion Abuja-Kaduna rail and the 156-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan project, which cost $1.5 billion and started trials in December 2020, while its connection to Apapa ports rolled up late last month. It's now time for the construction of a standard gauge railway line from Kano to Maradi and a branch line from Kano to Dutse. The 284-kilometer Kano-Maradi railway line will connect 3 states in northern Nigeria, namely Kano, Jigawa and Katsina, and the Republic of Niger, Maradi, while the 93-kilometer branch line will connect the capital of Jigawa State, Dutse, to Kano. Other cities to benefit directly from the route are Dambata, Kazaure, Daura, Mashi, Katsina and Jibia. The projected railway line is expected to impact a population of approximately 8.8 million people, with economic effects. First, infrastructure will facilitate intra-regional trade and also contribute to the socio-economic development of northern Nigeria, which has a high population density and is vast in agricultural production.
For seaports to be competitive, you need to take a mode of transportation close to them that provides them ease of transportation. In that case, for us, is the rail line.
The project, which is expected to be delivered in 36 months, comes at an estimated cost of $1.959 billion and is to be handled by Portuguese conglomerate known as the Motor Engel Group.
To some company news, the housing sector in Lagos is getting a boost with the groundbreaking ceremony of a proposed 500 units. You're welcome back to the news at 10, coming to you live from Abuja. To some company news, the housing sector in Lagos is getting a boost with the groundbreaking ceremony of a proposed 500 units Montego Gardens 4 in the Ogombo area of the state, as well as Montego Bay 5. The CEO of Henry Montego Homes, owners of the scheme, Henry Ebulofo, says the Montego Garden 4 is in line with the objective of the company to provide affordable but luxurious houses. The Montego Garden 4 and Montego Bay 5 allow a payment plan of up to 8 years.
It's the groundbreaking ceremony of Montego Garden 4 in Ogombo area of Lagos State, as well as Montego Bay 5. Guests arrived to witness this auspicious occasion, which, according to the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Henry Montego Homes, is one of the many products set to make a landmark impression in the Lagos housing sector.
We are here to launch one of our biggest projects that will house at least 300 to 500 families. Our vision is to use real estate as a tool to fix every area that our nation is facing challenges, which is health and education.
The brand obviously has a lot of testimonials as confirmed by some of the agents present.
And since then that I've keyed into Montego, none of my clients has complained.
Next, the project manager takes us through some of the features of Montego Garden 4 and Montego Bay 5, which include a 6 to 8 year payment plan.
If we see each unity have his own identification and have garden.
To set the scheme rolling, the symbolic groundbreaking ceremony takes place. Henry Montego Homes also seizes the opportunity to honor those who have kept faith with the brand.
I'd like to dedicate this beautiful 214 Camry to Raymond from Realtel Properties.
According to Bridget Adeyemi Arito, what the Montego brand offers in this Garden 4 and Bay 5 are unparalleled.
Montego is like the only developer in Nigeria right now doing up to 6 years, 8 years, 10 years payment plan, you understand? And his houses are very affordable.
This scheme is already selling, and subscribers are expected to walk into any of the Henry Montego Homes offices or visit the website www.henrymontegohome.com or other social media platforms for further information.
And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Millicent.
All right, Linda, many thanks. Into some stories on the coronavirus. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, says Nigeria has developed 2 candidate vaccines for COVID-19, but lacks the needed funding and sponsorship to push these breakthroughs to clinical trials. Dr. Hanire made the declaration at the Presidential Task Force briefing in Abuja, noting that the government is also reaching out to Russia and India for additional vaccines procurement. Meanwhile, the chairman of the task force on COVID-19 also announced a total of 13 cases of the B117 variant of the coronavirus in Nigeria.
Nigeria, I can say now, have reported 2 candidate vaccines
from 2 separate laboratories and have been reported to the ministry. But now you have to do the very expensive and delicate clinical trials that prove, first of all, that they are safe. Secondly, that they are efficacious, that it works. And again, that it's safe. And in doing that, you have to do a lot of trials with animals and so on, and volunteers. And it takes a long time to study these and can take up to a year. So those candidate vaccines, we are looking for sponsors. They require over $1 billion to drive them each to fruition. And if we get sponsors, we're going to look for sponsors. We can push that idea forward. But they are very, very important ideas. It is a source of great pride that Nigeria has developed these candidate vaccines. 2 of them, as I speak to you, I have the letters that have confirmed that and requesting support for clinical trials that will take us to the stage where you can now hand it over to the industry to produce, to a company, a vaccine company that will produce the vaccine.
Meanwhile, one of Africa's largest conglomerates, Boa Group, has paid for 1 million doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines for Nigeria through the Afrexim vaccine program in partnership with CACOVID. In a statement released today, the company says the vaccines will be distributed to Nigerians at no cost. BUA's founder, Abdul Samad Rabiu, says he expects the vaccines to be delivered within the next 14 days and with priority expected to be given to frontline workers who have committed their lives to managing the pandemic. According to him, the doses of the vaccine will be the first delivery of vaccines to Nigeria since the COVID-19 vaccines became available. He adds that the conglomerate is committing to purchasing 5 million doses for Nigeria as soon as they become available through the same arrangement. Business News is next. Here's Anne Wilder.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with the International Monetary Fund saying that Nigeria's economy is currently at a critical stage as it faces higher inflation, fall in external reserves, capital inflow, the COVID-19 pandemic, among other challenges. In its latest reports, following the conclusion of its consultation with government authorities on January the 27th, the IMF emphasized the need for urgent policy adjustment and more fundamental reforms in order to sustain macroeconomic stability and drive growth and employment. Well, this includes increasing the value-added tax rate at least 10% by 2022 and 15% by 2025, and a further devaluation of the naira to ease external imbalances. Just last year, Nigeria raised its VAT rate from 5 to 7.5%, and despite widespread public outcry. Meanwhile, the federal government has rejected the IMF's latest call for a further devaluation of the naira. Unity Bank PLC has presented checks worth 4 million naira to core members who have emerged winners of the Counter-insurgency Challenge. A total of 12 members of the core received the business grant at the end of the competition held in the nation's capital Abuja, in Lagos, Ogun and Edo states. According to Unity Bank PLC, the grant is aimed at empowering the core members in their chosen businesses. Our correspondent Emperor Simon reports.
Yes. It's another opportunity for members of the National Youth Service Corps to compete for the Unity Bank PLC Corporaneurship Challenge, aimed at empowering young entrepreneurs. One after the other, those who scale through the preliminary stages take turns to present their business pitch before the panel of judges for scrutiny. The competing corps members are evaluated on the basis of originality, presentation, financial knowledge, business, marketability, and futuristic employment generation proposition. After thorough evaluation, winners emerge in the 4 locations where the competition has been held, namely Abuja, Benin, Lagos, and Ogun. The first runners-up receive 300,000 naira each, while the first positions are presented checks of 500,000 naira each.
Here goes to Miss
According to Unity Bank PLC, in addition to the monetary benefits, the winners will be onboarded into the banking system, where they will also be mentored.
Once they are onboarded into the bank system, the team that handles businesses along their sectorial locations goes into their businesses, appraise their businesses, look at their location, look at their markets, and look at logistics around it, and see how we can assist in ensuring that they scale up.
Elated, the beneficiaries hope to make judicious use of the grants they received, just as NYSC officials commend Unity Bank for the gesture.
In the course of this sum of money, I will be able to start and to enhance my own business here in Edo, having one at Ekiti State.
Currently, I realize that Nigeria spent over 135 billion naira in Nigeria just to import fish. So for me, I feel like that is a gap that I personally have decided that I want to take the initiative to hold the hands of my fellow Nigerians to be able to ensure that we're able to meet the demands in the area of fish agriculture.
We are so happy and elated, and we are encouraged. The core members are encouraged, and you will see more of core members showing interest in learning skills. So I feel elated, I'm happy.
The Corpreneurship Challenge, according to Unity Bank PLC, will be sustained and hopefully continue to contribute to reduction in the number of unemployed youth in Nigeria.
Despite recording a positive performance on the price table, Nigeria's stock market has ended today's session still in the red as it begins the second trading week in February with more profit-taking sell pressure by investors. Edidiong Iwang has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The stock exchange is at a point where full year 2020 results will determine the market's direction, and today, some investors who couldn't wait any further for major corporate earnings decided to book profit, and that gave the bear the upper hand. Well, the all-share index fell 0.34%, and the banking sector was largely responsible for today's losses, no thanks to the 8.75% decline on GT Bank. Consumer goods is next in the trail of losses, while industrial goods was the only gainer for the day. Activity level opened the week lower against Friday's close as 340.28 million shares worth over 2 billion naira changed hands in 5,251 deals. The trio of Union Bank, FBN Holdings and Access held the top three spots on the trade list. As it's often said, it's not over until it is over, and so whether the market has begun the week negative, traders still do not rule out some bargain hunting this week. Well, that's the Stock Market Report today. I'm Edidiong Iwang.
Thank you, Edidiong. Let's see how the rest of the week goes. But let's find out also how other major markets around the world traded at the close of business. And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Unwawodu. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, Myanmar's military junta defends coup plots. Despite nationwide protests, warns no one is above the law. We have more from our London studio and around the world in 5. Do stay with us. Myanmar's junta leader, General Min Aung Hlaing, has defended last Monday's coup that ousted civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi and detained her and other democratically elected leaders. In his first address since the coup, General Hlaing blamed the Electoral Commission for failing to investigate irregularities during the country's November election. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Tens of thousands of people across Myanmar have joined a third day of demonstrations against the military government. Images show police in the capital using water cannon on workers conducting a nationwide strike against the military coup. People have flooded the streets in the largest protest in more than a decade. Many of the protesters can be seen driving through the city on motorcycles while honking their horns and chanting in protest against the coup. Demonstrators have been seen gesturing with the three-finger salute that has become a symbol of the protests against the coup. South Africa has halted the use of AstraZeneca Oxford jab after the vaccine was found not to prevent mild or moderate illness caused by the more contagious coronavirus variant.
So it's a temporary issue.
The AstraZeneca vaccine has appeared effective against the original strain, but not against the more infectious South African variant. The suspension is expected to be in place until more clinically efficacy information of the vaccine against new COVID-19 variants becomes available. The move has come 1 week after 1 million doses of the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine arrived in South Africa. Instead, the country will offer vaccines developed by Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer in the coming weeks. Australian journalist Chung Lei has been arrested in China on charges of supplying state secrets overseas. Chinese authorities confirmed her arrest after months of detention in the country. China announced that she is being held on national security grounds under residential surveillance in an unknown location. Australia has repeatedly raised concerns with Beijing over Ms. Chung's detention.
And we continue to seek assurances of her being treated appropriately, humanely.
Ms. Chung has worked in Beijing for the last few years for CGTN, the English language channel of the state broadcaster. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has returned to court and pleaded not guilty to corruption charges as his trial resumes in Jerusalem. Mr. Netanyahu has been indicted in 2019 in long-running cases involving gifts from millionaire friends and for allegedly seeking regulatory favours for media tycoons in return for favourable coverage. He is the first serving Israeli Prime Minister to go on trial. Hundreds of protesters can be seen gathered outside the district courthouse, waving banners and calling for him to resign. A new case of the Ebola virus has been detected in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's after the death of a 42-year-old woman who tested positive for the virus. The announcement potentially marks the start of Congo's 12th Ebola outbreak since the virus was discovered near the Ebola River in 1976. It comes nearly 3 months after Congo announced the end to its last outbreak hundreds of miles away in the west, which infected 130 people and killed 55. COVID-19 vaccines have been destroyed at a Greek hospital after a large fire at an electricity station caused extensive power cuts. The fire, which broke out at a high-voltage power station in a western Athens suburb, that led to blackouts across the country, including the capital, the Piraeus, and areas of the Peloponnese Peninsula. A senior official from the hospital said that due to the power cut, the temperature in the fridge where the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines had been stored had risen unexpectedly. And finally, a 106-year-old French piano player is recording her 6th album that will be released in April. Colette Mays, born in Paris in 1914, has been playing the piano since the age of 4 and has released her first album in 2001 at the age of 86. She says that she plays the piano because music is my food for the spirit and for the heart. And that's your international news around the world in 5. And now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Hello and welcome to Sports News. The 20th National Sports Festival that was scheduled to begin this Sunday, February the 14th, has been postponed for the third time to a yet-to-be-confirmed date in April 2021. The Honourable Minister of Youth and Sports Development confirmed the latest development of the COVID-19 Presidential Task Force briefing this evening. Kano Pillars picked the third away win in the Nigeria Professional Football League Week 9 fixture played earlier today at the Adoke Amesimaka Stadium in Port Harcourt. Awalu Malum's 23rd minute goal handed Pillars all points against FC Ifeanyi, and the Kano-based team have moved third on the MPFL log with 17 points from 9 matches. The defeat leaves them in the relegation zone. They are 18th with 8 points from 9 league games. And Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer admits his side want to lift a trophy ahead of their FA Cup fifth-round tie with West Ham United on Tuesday. He says United were disappointed to go out at the semi-final stage of last season's competition and will be looking to do better this time around, starting with their meeting with in-form West Ham at Old Trafford. And that's it on Sports News. Millicent, back to you.
Many thanks, Lumide. And the main news again. Some residents of Gwoza in Borno State today asked the federal government to end insurgency as the new chief of army staff visited frontline officers in Borno and Yobe states. Also today, some repentant bandits terrorizing some northern states across the country surrendered their arms to the Zamfara state government. Well, that's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.